All right, lonely Brian James, how's it going?
It's good. It's doing good. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Good to meet you, man. I know, you got a pretty interesting story that they're actually doing a movie on. That's pretty crazy.
They are. We're working on it right now. I'm promoting Lifer. We're on Kickstarter. It's called Seed and Spark. And yeah, we're looking to generate some pledges. If you go there, you can see what we're doing. We're trying to make a production. It's about my life, but it's about pretty much everybody's story: addiction, gangs, violence, growing up without parents, life on the streets. Um, yeah, it travels across a lot of different genres, a lot of different people. I think we'll be able to identify with it.
Okay, that's what's up. When can I expect that?
So our campaign has about 30 days left. So I have everything on my Instagram. I have all the links and everything in my bio where you can look at the campaign, our budgets, our mission statement, everything we're doing. And we're at about the 30-day mark. We're on track financially, but we still need pledges. We still need people to support. This is going to be, last week was 3 years I've been out of prison after serving 29 years on a life sentence as a juvenile. And we're this close. We're one move away from making a feature film that can touch all 50 states, potentially across the water. If you're from there, the streets, addiction, all the things I named, this movie's for you. We want you on board. We want your pledge. We want you to be a part of it.
Okay, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I hope it all works out for you for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's kind of get into your story a little bit and get to know you, man. So for the people who don't know, where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I come from my parents were both heroin addicts, so we kind of just traveled wherever the dope was at, wherever the connection was at, and mostly throughout the San Fernando Valley, a little bit in Los Angeles, but generally right there.
Okay, what was it like for you?
If in a word, a nightmare. If you have parents in addiction, which a lot of viewers I know do, that's their number one priority. They forget to feed you. They forget to give you water. They forget your home. They leave you at home. They leave you in the care of people who don't have your best interest. So growing up in that, and as a child, internalizing all that, thinking about all that that's going on to you, that does a lot of damage. That causes a lot of trauma. And to put it bluntly, it fucked me up pretty bad.
What are some of the things, some of the stories that you could share throughout that time?
I remember at Thanksgiving, my grandparents dropping me off over there at my mom's house. My father was already out of the scene. He had left. He had been gone, went to prison. He got out and he never came back. So he was missing, but I was going to spend the weekend with my mom. She was deep in her addiction at the time. And as soon as we pulled up, they were rushing her out and throwing her in like one of those little kiddie pools, like out in the front yard. She had overdosed. And that unfortunately became common to me. I witnessed her do that a couple more times, a lot of people around the house, but I would say the overdoses and just the people in and out of the house, just the horrors of a drug house, living inside that as a young child.
Okay. Now, seeing your mom overdose, I mean, man, that had to have been traumatizing for a kid. How old were you?
I was 8 the first time.
8. So you seen her do this multiple times.
I mean, when you're living with a mother in addiction, you see it. I don't want to say you become accustomed to it. It becomes a part of your life, but it's nonetheless traumatizing. Seeing them nodding out, seeing and not understanding it. As a young child, I'm like, what the is wrong with me that my own mom doesn't want me, that my own dad just takes off and doesn't want me. I'm not really understanding what addiction is. So all this stuff that I'm looking for from mom, I'm a child. I want love. I want attention. Like all the things that a child deserves, a child needs. I go and I went looking for it, but I went looking in the streets though. I jumped off the porch and I went looking for all the things that mom was not supplying me with, dad was not supplying me with. I hit the streets and I went looking for it.
Okay. How did you get into the streets? Like, did you meet some friends? Did you meet some people? How'd that go down?
My first interaction with the streets was with my stepdad. My mom had got married at some point and he was a gang member from West LA. He had some sons that were also gang members from there. And I lived in the house with them and they were active. And I took notice of it. I took notes and, I began imitating and learning and getting schooling. And I went out into my own neighborhood and it began with graffiti. I started tagging. And this is, in the early 90s. That's when taggers became under fire from the local gangs. The mandate was put out that you either join the gang or you disband. And I was in a stage in my life where I was already carrying weapons. I was already like in that mind state fighting. I had been to juvenile hall. I had been to camp. So I transitioned pretty naturally into my neighborhood with the life I had, with the schooling, with everything. It was natural. And it worked for me because in my mind, I'm the kid whose own parents don't want him. Your dad don't want you. Your mom don't want you. You got to be a piece of shit. So Brian James, I killed him off as soon as I got jumped into my neighborhood. I became lonely. I had a new name. I had a new identity. I had homeboys. I had homegirls. I had dope that came to numb the pain of not having the mom. I thought it was my dream come true. I literally thought it was my dream come true. I thought I found the answer to all my problems.
Okay, and what was it like for you getting put on your neighborhood?
I mean, in that time, they call your name, you step into the circle, you get your ass whooped for it felt like forever, but I think it was something like 30 seconds. But when I hit the ground, that's when Brian James died. He picked me back up and now I'm lonely. And these people accepted me. These people, I belonged. I had a new identity. And I'm telling you, Cam, there was nothing that I would not do to maintain that, to keep that. Up to and including the crime of murder, which I ultimately got convicted for.
Okay, so well, before we get to that though, what were some of your early crimes? Like what was the first thing you got arrested for?
The first thing I got arrested for was I stole an LL Cool J tape from Target. And I apologize, LL Cool J, for that. I owe him $7.99. But I went to juvenile hall. But it quickly evolved. Robbery, assault, weapons charges, vandalism, in and out of juvenile hall. I ran the gamut. I did it. Juvenile hall, camp, youth authority.
What was juvenile hall like for you?
It was a breeding ground. It was a training ground for the next stage, for the county jail, for camp. And it's a trip because in Sylmar Juvenile Hall, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F. Each unit is separated like that. And for the youngest of offenders or people coming in, it's CD. It's the top of the hill. And they always say CD stands for criminal development, which is true. It's where you learn how to fight. You interact with other gang members. The staff are all crooked. Still today are crooked. But definitely that's how I would describe it, as a breeding ground, as a training ground, just for the next stage.
Did you have any wild fights in there you could talk about?
Yeah. I mean, I was a big kid. I'm a white kid. Although I ran, I was from a Mexican gang. I ran with Mexicans. Most of my fights, I won sheerly because of size, but I definitely took a lot of L's. I remember there's a neighborhood called Santa Nas back then. I'm sure they're still around today. And we had some kind of friction with them at the time, and it trickled into juvenile hall. And I remember I went into the hallway with this guy from Santa Nas. They called him Turtle. We ended up being friends later on. But we squared off, and I remember he was way smaller than me. I thought for sure I'm going to max this guy out in the hallway. He just threw one of them punches, and it just connected, completely shattered my entire nose, broke my nose. And I remember I spent the next 4 days, there's a hospital across the street from Central Juvenile Hall where I was at, literally getting my nose adjusted and fixed. So, but that's an L that I took for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now you mentioned being in juvenile hall with or seeing Whack 100 in juvenile hall.
Yeah. Whack was he was in M&N. So in Central Juvenile Hall, the way it's designed, you have Unit KL, which are, at that time, there was 90 of us in there. All youth offenders, all under the age of 18, all fighting murders. Some people double, some triple murders at the age of like 16, 15, 14. And upstairs was M&N, which were like robberies, attempted murders, really serious charges. And he was upstairs. The reason that I was aware of him was because he had a younger homie, BWAC, who was my roommate downstairs in KL. And I didn't have like any major like interactions with him. I know we met in the weight room one time. He spent a lot of time in there. He had like probably like some 21s back then, I remember. But yeah, he was there downstairs.
Okay. Now, you know, you're in and out of jail. Are you going to school at all?
I mean, you're mandated to go to school in there. It's just part of the programming, but I'm not paying any kind of attention. I'm not committed to it in any kind of way. I'm fighting a murder charge at this time.
Okay. Okay. So, well, okay. So, at what age do you end up catching this murder charge, and you know what all are you comfortable talking about?
Yeah.
What happened?
So I caught this at the age of 16. I got out of juvenile hall. I was constantly in and out. I don't think I had strung together a period of 3 months at a time straight of freedom without going in. So I had got out on a Thursday, and on Sunday we went to a party. I said, let's go to a party. The homie got out. We'll celebrate. We'll have a good time. We had a flyer. This is in the 90s. So we went to the party. Maybe about 15 of us. It was like about 3-4 carloads. And so we caravan to the party, and we're looking to have a good time. Our intentions are good, and we're looking to have some fun. And so we get there, and unfortunately, like most parties in the 90s, there's all kind of, you know, enemies and rivals. And we ran into some people that night, and it was at the section where they have the drinks. They had shots for $1. They had like cups of beer for $2. And I remember my homie came up, he put down like a $50 bill, something like that. And he said, let us drink for like 5 minutes or whatever. And it was right there in that moment that the altercation took place. This guy came up, you know, he hit me up. Where you from? We traded some conversation. There was a small shoving match, and we immediately left to go outside the party. We were going to leave. I'm telling you, our intentions were not that night. It was just to have a good time, to blow off some steam. And as we were leaving the party down the street, we turned and we saw a fight occurring. We immediately backed up and sped towards the fight. I reached under the seat. There was a knife there. There's always weapons around. I grabbed the knife and I sprinted towards the fight as fast as I could. As soon as I got there, there was a guy I saw on top of my friend. And he had one of those metal bars that you lock a truck with, the steering wheel.
Oh,
and he's
clubs.
And he's hitting him with it. Boom. And I hear my homeboy screaming. And in 3 seconds, this is a decision that took me 3 seconds to make. Pulled out the knife, swung it around as hard as I could, and I hit this guy. And when that happened, I backed up because it's a big crowd. There's a fight going on. There's a lot of action. There's screaming. It's a chaotic situation. I had some alcohol involved, so I was impaired, and I split. Now, what I didn't know, after I split, a couple of my homies came in and also stabbed. Fast forward the next morning, I'm coming back from church. Mind you, I got out on a Thursday. I'm coming back from church with my grandparents because I promised them I'll go to church. And as soon as we turn the corner, we see Channel 7, we see Channel 2, and the whole block is lined with cops. I tell my grandfather, I go, Pop, just keep driving. You know, that was a stupid thing to do, but, you know, he said we can't. He turned into the parking lot, the driveway, and they just swarmed. You know, the felony stopped, and they arrested him. Yeah.
Okay, so you're 16 years old. You get arrested for murder. How is that? How you found out that the dude died?
Yeah. So when they arrested me,
They arrested all your other homies too, I take it?
I didn't know yet. I didn't know at the time. So I'm arrested, and I said, "What is this for? What is this?" And they said it's a probation search. I said, "All right." They handcuffed me and they put me in the car. And as they're driving me to the police station, the detective leans over and said, "Were you at a party last night?" Like I knew right there. I said, "No, I didn't go to a party last night." He goes, "Well, all your friends said you did. And they all said you did something." And then it was silence for the rest of the trip. Get to the police station. They do what they do at any police station. Although I was young, I was experienced in this. I'd been doing this for a while already. They come in, you sit there for a while. They say this guy told on you, this guy told on you. And in my case, 2 of them actually did tell on me, of my homeboys. They charged me with murder, and they took me to juvenile hall, to Silmar Juvenile Hall.
Okay, now you're in juvenile hall, but all the other times have been relatively light. You know, this is serious now.
Yeah.
So you know, they're putting you in the worst part of the juvenile hall.
Sure.
And you know, this is serious. You know, you're 16, but you're still looking at, you still end up doing life. You know, how are you feeling? What are you thinking about?
There's a moment too.
Are you mad because your homies told on you?
That, I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a moment too that it's written into the script. It's a heavy moment too, because like I said, I've been going to juvenile hall my whole life. I've been in every single unit. And when you're in juvenile hall, you wear gray, like stretchy pants, and you wear the white t-shirt. If you're arrested for murder, you wear all orange, and you're an HRO. It's called high risk offenders. And for years, every time we would visit with my grandparents, they would always, they'd walk by, you'd see them. And we say, at least we're not in orange. At least you're not in orange, Brian. Yeah, they would always say that. And that was like our only saving grace. I'd be going to camp for 9 months, YA for a year, juvenile hall for another 7 months, but at least you're not in orange. So when I went there, I'll never forget that first time when I got arrested on a Sunday. I went to arraignment, I think Tuesday morning. I hadn't seen my grandparents, no one in my family. The doors open. I walk into court wearing orange, and my grandparents were sitting in the back. And that was a crazy moment right there. That was a rough moment. And I didn't really process it 2 years later, because how did I feel at the time? I had just committed the ultimate pledge of allegiance to my neighborhood. I was proud of it. I was pissed off that my homies had snitched. Like, I was locked into a strict and serious gang mentality at that time. So I was playing my part to the fullest. And I was a very angry, callous, and cold person. Remember, my mom don't give a about me. Either does my dad. They didn't even want me. Yeah, my grandparents adopted me, but I'm telling myself it's because they had to. I heard my grandfather one time talking to a social worker. He said, Brian doesn't have anybody else. So I was a pissed, angry, and very clearly a dangerous human being at that time. So that was my mind state. And at 16 years old.
How long do you spend fighting the case?
I fought the case. I quickly got tried as an adult. Took about a month. There's a criteria, the seriousness of the crime, your past history. I failed on everyone. They tried me as an adult, and that's when they sent me to Central Juvenile Hall. I fought my case there. The LA County sheriffs would come from the county jail, pick us up at Juvenile Hall, take us to the county, and we'd go to our court from there. About a year and a half, took it all the way to trial, and got found guilty, ultimately of second-degree murder and an assault with great bodily injury. I had 5 crime partners. 2 got life as a juvenile, which means they would get out at 25. And there was 3 of us as adults. We all got life sentences as adults. I got 20 to life. So did my co-defendant, and I had another co-defendant that got 19 to life.
Yeah, I had a homeboy who was 16 who got convicted of murder. And they gave him life, but he got out a few years ago.
And you know, there was a phrase that Hillary Clinton used at the time that I became aware of during trial, because I'm oblivious to politics or anything that's going on. I'm locked into the streets and what's going on. But she used the phrase super predator. And that basically was like, if these children are going to commit these heinous, serious crimes at 16, 17, just imagine what they're going to be at 25. And that terrified the public. So I think that had a great deal as to why, we were sent away forever. And whether it played a role or not, I was in the same courtroom as the Menendez brothers. Same time, they were in trial. And there was a big media, but, there's a lot of factors that play into it.
So how long are you in there before you get convicted? How long does it take to get to trial? A couple years?
Yeah, it takes a couple years because you're postponing, witness preparation, you're reading documents, and you're prepping for trial. They're offering deals.
Did they offer you a deal?
They offered a deal. They said if one of you guys, this was me and my crimey, they said if one of you guys take 12 years with 85% and 2 strikes, the other guy will get 15 to life. Which anything, if you have, I don't care what the number is in front of it, if you have an L connected to your sentence, like you're never gonna go home. I mean, I looked at my crimey, I was like, bro, I'll take care of you until the day you come home. He was like, no, that ain't happening.
You know what's crazy, bro? This story is so much like my homie. See, the same thing, man. They were offering him I think they offered him 18 to life, but he was like, I'm not taking anything with an L.
If it has a letter,
You might not ever get out.
yeah,
So he all this stuff you're saying, bro, is
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He was like my good friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, went through this, and I'm like, all this stuff is because we're probably about the same age. This happened in early middle 90s.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Same time frame.
Well, we offered him, we countered with, say, we will both give you 25 years with 85% and 2 strikes. We were prepared to sign a deal that day. He liked that. He said, let me take it back to my boss, which was Gil Garcetti at the time. And he said, no, there's too much attention on this courtroom, and not necessarily this case. It's just because we happened to be there where the Menendez brothers was at. OJ was in trial at the time, but he said, I want life sentences. I want life sentences out of both of them. So we went all the way to trial, all the way to the box, and at the end got found guilty. The jury went for the DA went for a first-degree murder. He got a second, which helped later on in life, but it really didn't matter in the early years.
And the guys that cooperated, they got smaller sentences?
So the guys that cooperated, yeah, one of them got a little bit of time at YN. He got out. He's already back in there. He went back in there shortly after. And the other ones, I don't know. They disappeared. I don't know where they went.
Get convicted and sentenced. What is that like for you? What's that day, that first night, you know what I'm saying? When the judge says you're never getting out of jail. You got to go back to that cell by yourself. You got to be there by yourself. What are you thinking?
I mean, I'll never forget the day and the moments hit me so hard. And I remember we, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Brian James, guilty of second-degree murder. I think it was 22 words, if I'm correct. And I remember, that locked in with you. It's the second I heard that. I remember I heard a cry come from my grandmother because my entire family, friends, and people were behind me. And that's when the moment sunk in. It's a wrap. Like this is you for life now. And my grandparents planted some really good seeds in me. Everybody's grandparents does, most people. And they were there. But like I said, I was still a really callous, angry person. I was dealing with a lot at the time. So I was embracing the moment. I was going to the big leagues. That's what every young gang member wanted. That's what I definitely wanted. I played my role as hard as I could on the streets. I was convicted of murder at 17 years old, and I was ready to go to the big leagues. Was I scared? Absolutely. I was terrified. But that was the life that I had chosen. I was committed to it for that time.
Okay, and you're a white dude, but you're with the South Sides.
Yeah, we're on the South Side.
So what is that like for you?
So when I went in there, I immediately, I arrived at Salinas Valley State Prison, which at the time, I remember my counselor, when I went to reception, I went to Wasco, and them saying, Salinas Valley State Prison is the new Pelican Bay. They just opened it up. It's the most dangerous prison. It's a super max. There's going to be 4 180 yards. You're young, so hopefully you don't go there. Hopefully they'll send you somewhere else. My luck, my destiny, my fate, whatever. The bag was dropped in front of my door 2 days later, Salinas Valley State Prison. So I go there and you immediately walk on the yard and you see the people. And, I walked over there to the homies. It's where I felt like I belonged. That's where I knew I belonged. And I never felt anything other than embraced. from day one all the way to the day I walked out.
So how many total years do you end up doing in prison?
I did 29 years and 2 months.
29 years and 2 months. Okay, so you go in
Age 16 to 45.
16 to 45. Okay. That's a long time,
It is.
you know. And you know, you're seeing a lot, you're going through a lot. You know, what are some things that you're seeing and you're going through while you're in prison through this journey?
I think in the beginning, I got a serious wake-up call where I was at as well. This is part of the script. So there's a part, and this is written into the script, probably about my 3rd month on the yard. I had an older homeboy named Chino, had been down about 12 years at that point. They had taken me under the wing, was kind of showing me around. And I was a sponge. I was soaking up stuff from him, and we're kicking it one day. We're squatted down, we're against the handball wall, and he gives me a tap, and he goes, like, glances over towards the baseball field. So I'm watching, I'm looking, they're playing ball, and I see this guy run to first base, and he gets to first base, and I see somebody walk around behind him with a baseball bat. Those big metal Easton ones. And this dude swung that bat like a home run swing and hit this dude in the base of his neck. And he immediately dropped. I was maybe like 50 yards away or something like that. And he dropped. And as soon as he dropped, 2 other guys jumped on top of him and just started booking him vicious. You know, clearly the guy died right away. But for me in that moment, it was my 2nd month. And I remember thinking to myself, don't you look away. You better stare at this right here because this is your life right now. You need to get used to this. This is your life. Because everything in me, I'm 18. I had arrived to prison on my 18th birthday. You're not prepared for the impact of something like that. You know, people tell these stories and they rap about it, but to be up close and personal at that age, you don't got no dope, no homeboys. You're standing there. It's you. And I remember I knew I had to embrace that moment right there because that was going to be my life. And that was a really, really difficult moment for me. But yeah, I witnessed that probably about my 3rd month in there.
Okay, now you mentioned you did some time in solitary confinement.
I did, yeah. So I spent my first many years, probably 17 years, my first 17 years in prison, just in the cycle of going to yard, using politics, nothing productive. I wasn't doing anything productive with my life. I was fully immersed in the life in prison. And that earned me a place in solitary confinement. They had a thing called the validation process. They have 4, major prison gangs. And if you're associated with one, they claim you're associated with one, it would put you in one of the security housing units. Corcoran State Prison, Pelican Bay State Prison. They had one in Folsom and one in Tehachapi. And they have a validation process. In my case, they used this tattoo, which I had got years earlier. They use communications. They try to build a case, which for them, it's built on lies. They just want to put people in. Their goal was to get 50% of the population telling on the other 50% of the population, which they've been successful in prison doing today. So I went in there and I was validated. That means basically like you're in that box. This is your tomb. You're here for good. Snitch, parole, or die. That was our options. That's the only way that you're going to get out of there. That was what they told us. For me, that was not an option. And so I buckled in for the long run. And luckily for me, I'm a reader. I'm a writer. My nickname was Lonely, so I can function in solitary. While it did do a lot of damage to me psychologically, for sure, as well as physically, I came out of it, but I spent a total of 9.5 years in there.
Okay. 9 out of the 29.
This is on the last run. So probably out of 29 years, 16 to 17 years were spent either in administrative segregation for whatever reason or the shoot.
Whew. It's a lot of time to be there, man.
It's a lot of time spent with yourself. And when I was in Corcoran, I was in 4B, 2 left, cell 53. I spent 8 years straight alone in the same exact cell. Like I literally know every single crack. Like I'm intimate with every drill mark, with every hole in there. It's a trip. Have you seen footage of like those cells where they have the perforated doors with the holes in them? The prison cells?
Yeah.
My door has 748 holes in it. I counted it a ton of times. It's crazy. I wrote a poem about it one time called Dragonflies. It was after my grandmother died. And I remember I started counting those holes as a way to distract my mind from the torture of the love of my life had died. And I'm sitting in solitary by myself. So that's how I discovered how many holes were in that door.
Now, did you have TVs at the time in there?
You do have a TV. They're these little 13-inch flat screen TVs. And you get, NBC. There's a PBS channel. It's limited, but you do get TVs. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, yeah. And so you got to find a way to stay busy. You don't get no yard. It's you go out to what we see in the cages.
Yeah.
Half hour a day.
So about every other day, you get a couple hours. You're in central California at the time too, so it's really foggy. So during fog season, there's no yard because it's so foggy you can't see. They cancel yard for that reason. So it's a really, really boring existence. The only way that I got out was because there was a brilliant idea that was hatched inside Pelican Bay State Prison that we were going to have a thing called the end of hostilities. It was leaders from different organizations came together and says, we need to stop the riots. We need to stop the violence, stabbing each other. It's been years of that. We're accomplishing nothing. We're all sitting back here in solitary confinement. I was back there 10 years. There was guys back there for 30 years, 35 years. Old men that had gone in there young, that had been back there longer than I had been incarcerated. So as a collective, everybody in the general population came together and squashed all their differences, all the factions, North, South, Crip, Blood, Black, Bay Area, 415, East Coast, 60s. Everybody squashed their differences and we came together and we did a hunger strike. The biggest hunger strike in history in the United States. It was in California. 30,000 people participated. There's a documentary called The Strike on it. And we did that. And we changed the laws. We brought in Sacramento. They came and spoke with the hunger strike leaders. And on day 47, I did not take a meal for 47 days. The court in the Northern District, the 3-judge panel said we need to close down the shoes. It's torture. It's inhumane. 6 months later, we were all walking out back into the general population. And that's the only way. I'd have been dead. I would have never been sitting here right now. I would have died in there alone, no voice, nobody ever knowing.
Okay. So you guys do this hunger strike, and it works. This works, but you guys also have to agree not to beef.
It's the agreement to end hostilities is what we called it. Yeah. If there's a disagreement, try to handle it diplomatically. I mean, obviously you're in prison. We're at 88 murders in California State Prison right now, just in California right now. So that shows the complete mess and chaos it is because of that hunger strike, because of the release from the SHU, CDCR, they had their hand forced. They had to do it. The judge told them they had to do it. So they're trying to counter it with a lot of policies and integrating people they know they shouldn't integrate. So, hence 88 murders already just this year alone.
Okay.
But that's because of CDCR's policy, not any kind of prison organization or anything like that. That's because them forcing the policies.
Yeah, I mean, is 88 murders in prison? I mean, is that a lot? You think that's a lot in 1 year, or is that
a high number? You'd be surprised. That's one thing. I mean, I have this conversation with people a lot. The seriousness and the brutality of some of the stabbings and the things that take place in there, you would think there'd be a lot more murders, but there's not. Say, for instance, in Corcoran, the medical staff there are professionals at arriving on the scene and attending to a stab wound. They've been doing it, and especially if you're in a place like Corcoran, maybe that's the case, but surprisingly, not as many people die from those brutal stabbings and things like that. But 88, that's a high number. It might be the highest number in years.
Wow. Okay.
And I mean, look where we're at right now. What are we in August?
Yeah.
So they're on course to cross 100.
I mean, can you talk about some of the things that happened that got you in the shoe?
Well, I mean, the things that got me in the shoe was just a life of crime on the yard, selling dope, using dope, communications with other gang members, politics on the yard, just being active, being frontline. That's what gets you there. If you're a good gang member and you do what you're supposed to do, that's your prize. You get to go back there and be disciplined with the big boys.
Okay, and now that things have ended to where they're not putting it, so they still have a shoe program though, right? Like,
There's a shoe program, but you're not there forever like we were. You're not there in indeterminate shoe. So, if you get caught with a knife, if you commit a crime or whatever in the yard, you'll go back there, do your 6 months, come back out.
okay, that's a lot better. But
Yeah.
some guys are wild though. Some guys are like, I'm gonna keep killing. No, as long as they allow me around people.
And that's definitely a mind state. I mean, there are people that belong in the shoe, for sure. I mean, it's open, it's there for a reason, but that definitely is some people's mind state. Yeah, it's a lot different now though, because of the way the laws have changed and the programs. A lot of the prisons are connected with colleges and different programs, which is kind of caused the culture shift a little bit in prison because people have access and now there's a way home, whereas before there wasn't.
Is there any other of your experience in there that you would like to talk about?
So when we did finally get out of the shoe after the hunger strike, I was on my 25th year at that point, and that's when I became part of a dog training program. I saw the sign up on the wall. The laws had changed. There was a law called SB 260, which meant if you committed a crime as a juvenile under the age of 18, like, you have an opportunity to go home now, despite having that L. And so by this point, it was 25 years in. I had lost my grandmother. I'm looking for a little bit, something a little bit better in life. I've been traveling in that circle for a long time, the negativity. So I was open to stuff. I signed up for this dog program. I did the interview. I got into the program, and I was assigned a German Shepherd named Flynn. And this is my 25th year. This dog spent 3 months with me. We were given assignments, training assignments, goals we had to achieve with the dog. They would bring a camera crew in and they would film us doing our training, interacting with the dog, because the goal was to get the dog adopted. And my family ended up adopting my dog. So imagine years of like writing letters and cards and sending that home. And then finally on my 25th, I get to send a dog home. It was unbelievable. And that was the program, I would say, that kind of maybe started shifting my mind state, that made me started looking at myself different. I had been called a juvenile offender. I was a lifer. I was in the shoe, the worst of the worst, a validated gang associate. But now they're calling me a dog trainer. Now they're calling me an animal advocate. And when you tell somebody like that who's been in prison for 25 years, who's been incarcerated since they were a kid, pretty much their entire life, it starts to shift something in their head. Like, damn, I could be something other than that. And I started thinking that way. Well, that program allowed me to have my points drop, and I got to go to my first level 3 on about my 26th, 27th year in prison. And in the level 3 in Ironwood, they have college and they have all these programs. I locked into that, and I found myself at board for the third time. For the third time in Ironwood. That was my 29th year. I went to board, and I had spent a lot of times going to groups and programming, understanding myself. When you go to the California Parole Board, you need to really have a deep knowledge of self. You need to understand yourself, because they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to say, Brian, you were born on this date, February 13th, 1977. At the age of 16, you committed a murder. What the hell happened? How does a kid arrive at that point? So you need to be able to articulate and explain that to them. The first time I went to board, I was 19 years old. They said, get a GED, get a high school diploma, get a vocation, find some remorse, stay out of trouble. And I said, sir, if I check all those boxes right there and I do all those things, can I go home one day? And both of the commissioners on the parole board laughed at me. They said, your parole officer hasn't even been born yet. And here we are, almost 30 years later, and I'm sitting in front of this guy. But I'm ready this time.
Same guy?
The same guy. And I'm ready this time. And I do my hearing. Takes about an hour. I go back while they deliberate.
Wait, what's the hearing like? What do you say when you get up there?
Oh, the first hearing, I mean, there's a lot of trick questions. Like the first one is an open-ended question. Why are you here? Now, if the answer is because I was convicted of a crime or something like that, you're going to get denied for 3 years. The answer is because I committed a heinous crime. I took a life. Immediately, we call it falling on the sword. You have to, like the homies told me on the yard that were training me and we were preparing for board. Lonely has to fall on the sword. You have to throw Lonely under the bus and you have to become Brian James. It's like a mind state. So they're open-ended questions. Why did you do it? What would you tell the victim today? How do you feel about it? Why did you become a gang member? That's a huge question. Not because it was in my front doorstep, not because I had family members that were gang members. The answer is because my mom was not showing me love. I didn't have any belonging at home. I didn't have any acceptance. So I went looking for it. And these people gave it to me and I loved it and I felt amazing. And I would do anything to keep it. That's not an excuse. That's an explanation. So you just have to work your way through. Like it's rigorous questioning. It's really serious, deep questioning. And at the end, he came back after debating and deliberating for about 1 minute. I walked in. He said, Mr. James, this is probably one of the easiest decisions I've ever made. That was on February 2nd of 2022. And on July 15th of 2022 is when I paroled. 29 years, 2 months. And it's so crazy. You just walk out. I'm 45 years old. My entire life, everything I own is in a laundry bag. It's nuts. It's nuts. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah. How did you feel? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you?
Yes. All that.
I mean, because at this point, you really don't know anything but prison.
Even at this point today, it's like I feel like I'm barely getting my stride in life. But the way things change so fast, I mean, you could be living a certain way today. Life changes so fast. Within 30 days, so much can happen. But yeah, it's a struggle. It's a challenge. It's a lot. Understanding the emails. I'm still trying to wrap my head around, because when you're in prison, when you're in the county jail, when you're incarcerated, all you know is, your money comes, you walk to a window, you open up your laundry bag and you shop. The food comes out. Here, it's like the debit cards and like, it's just, for someone like me who's been like pretty much in a box their whole life, to wrap my mind around, like, I work really hard. I push this little plastic thing in and it pays for stuff. I don't know. Just for me, it's an insane concept for me at this stage of my life. But I'm enjoying it. And, unbelievably, this movie project is happening. I'm being blessed. I'm being blessed right now.
Man, that's what's up, man. What is like the first things you do when you get out? Have you been on vacation yet?
I've been to, I went to San Francisco. So the first week I got out, he's a Hollywood producer, but he's also the biggest, if not, the main prison advocate that fights for juveniles. His name is Scott Budnick. And he founded a program called the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And they do a lot of like trips and they help people when they come home. So my first week home, he got it cleared like from the top of the parole. And I went to the Sacramento River for 4 days. Me and 7 other guys who just finished serving life sentences and some other juveniles who had done some time. We spent 4 days on the Sacramento River, kayaking down, spending the night on the river. Greatest experience of my life. Unbelievable. And he does that every year for lifers and people that get out. So it's a time, they call it a decompression stage. So after you serve that amount of time, they put me into it's a transitional housing, but you're kind of underwatch in a decompression stage. And the theory is that the last time you were out here, you were 16 years old. So you're going to respond as that 16-year-old to triggers and stimulus and things that come at you. So you're walking around with a bomb in your chest right now, with a live bomb. So we want you to decompress for a while, to walk to the store, walk back. And it's intense. Like, the transitional house is in downtown LA, like super active area, like Crazy Riders, Orphans, 18, Whitmer, like all these hoods are right there in the middle. And we're just lifers, that are just came out. Everything was always respectful. There were never any problems or like that. But, downtown LA is such a busy place. So you start to gain your confidence in the free world, taking a walk here and back, buying something, coming back, just little bits of responsibility. Yeah. And they say it takes about 5 years till you actually really start, because I've been an adult in the free world for 3 years.
Right. That's it. You were never an adult.
I'm discovering how I'm dressing. People say, hey, what's your favorite restaurant? I don't know yet. I haven't tried them all. Like, there's still foods I haven't tried yet. There's so many places I haven't gone. So I'm still evolving and discovering myself as a human being today at 48 years old.
Yeah. Wow, man. Okay. So, I mean, you've been doing good. So, you made the decision. I'm not going back.
I'm not going back. One of the greatest things, one of the best decisions that I made since coming out here was I joined Muay Thai. I've been Muay Thai training for like about 7 months right now. And at 48 years old, I've gotten in the best shape of my entire life. I'm hoping to have a fight soon. It's what my coaches say I'm ready. But my ultimate goal, my bucket list, I want to fight a correctional officer in the octagon. The lifer versus the lieutenant, the lifer versus the sergeant, the lifer versus the tower cop. I think that, and that's a legitimate goal of mine that I would like to have. Sell tickets, get in there. We could do it for a charity or something like that. But ultimately, I would love to do that, like an MMA in the octagon or a ring or something like that. I still have a bit more training to, quite a bit more training to do. But yeah, that is definitely one of my goals. But Muay Thai, leading into it, and having spent your life in prison for a violent crime like I did, you're supposed to shy away from violence. But in my case, I chose to lean into it, to embrace it, but in a constructive way. I still continue to fight. I still want to fight, but in a sport, athletically. And it pushes you, and it gives you discipline, and it bleeds over into the other areas of my life. So it's definitely one of the best decisions I made. That anybody coming out after a long time, you're a gang member, if you have that high energy, and put it into combat sports.
Wow, that's interesting, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That'd be cool if you can make that happen, for sure.
I mean, I think that's something people would love to see. I think that's something people would like to sell. You could sell some tickets too.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I'm confident in myself.
Listen, you got a couple crooked correctional officers that got fired.
Oh, I know there's a ton of them there. I want to whoop on an active duty correctional officer. Okay. Any correctional I would welcome. And not even a negative. But just competition. Yeah, I think that would be good.
Wow, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, congratulations on everything, man. We're glad to see you doing good. You made it out of there, man, in one piece. So that's what's up, man.
Thank you.
For sure, man. I wish you the best, with everything you got going on.
Okay,
yeah. All right, bro. For sure. What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon. So hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.